Welcome to the OmniTalk Fast Five, sponsored by Takeoff and the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The OmniTalk Fast Five is the funniest, fastest, and most fervently insightful breakdown of all the week's top news in the world of retail, and also the podcast with the best alliteration. It's July 15th, 2021. I am your host, Ann Mazinga, and I am thrilled because I am joined today by somebody that I've followed very closely and been a huge fan of for a long time, Forrester VP and Principal Analyst, Sucharita-inspired. Sucharita, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Anne, for having me. I am a big fan of the OmniTalks podcast as well, so very excited for being here today.
Sucharita, how's your week going so far? What's been on deck this week for you? Has it been crazy? You easing back into things after the 4th of July?
How's it going? Is, well, there's the retail craziness. There's always some retail story or another, but then there's also the personal issues with just I live in North Carolina, and the summer is getting back to normal, and nobody's wearing masks, and the kids are in their activities. So it's there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, we were just kind of like talking before the show of just how crazy this summer feels like, this with kids' activities and getting them back and forth to things. And then this week in retail, like it kicked off pretty strong. There's a lot going on, coming into this week. I think people were coming back from maybe taking a holiday week off. And now things are just booming like crazy. We got a lot to talk about today. So I'm excited to get started on that. So today in Fast Five, we are going to talk Sam's Club adding scan and ship, Apple launching their own version of buy now, pay later, 7-Eleven expanding mobile checkout to 3,000 stores, Nordstrom's exclusive partnership with Asos, and we're going to take off with our very first headline. So, headline number one, Instacart has named Facebook executive Fidji Simo as their next CEO. This kicked off the week last week. Effective August 2nd, Simo will replace Instacart founder and current CEO, Apurva Mehta, who will transition to executive chairman of the board. Now, Simo was at Facebook for over a decade and was behind many of Facebook's biggest launches, including Newsfeed, Stories, Groups, Video, Marketplace, Gaming, News, Dating, ads, and more. This woman has been behind some of the biggest things that Facebook has put out in the last 10 years plus. Sucharita, what do you think of this?
It is strange to me. You typically don't see a startup CEO being displaced this close to a potential IPO. You do see startup CEOs being, replaced earlier in the cycle, but it seems strange. And I mean, there's so many questions I have.
Really?
I mean, why has it taken this long to go public? Like, if they were really on fire for as long as they were, kind of last year would have been a great time to do it. I mean, there's so many other companies, like whether it's the Airbnb or DoorDash timing, right? I mean, those guys had blocked their IPOs, and like, why wasn't Instacart in that conversation as well? And they weren't. So there are a lot of questions about that. Then all of the data I see from our side on online grocery really does not show that the economics are any better, that, the adoption is still, I think that there are a lot of questions around how many people are really using it and whether or not they're profitable customers. And I think that that's probably part of the issue. Is a new CEO going to solve their problems and lead them to a magical exit? I don't know. I'm sure that's what their board is hoping.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you bring up a really good point because, we know that the money is not in being a third-party logistics or delivery provider. That is not going to be a profitable business. And I think that for me, it's, there obviously is value in being this network that has control of all of this customer data that brands want. And I think you are right. They are putting a lot of stock in saying that Facebook and this kind of community or marketplace that they have been able to create, that is the way that they can be a profitable business. And, they brought over Asha Sharma. She came over from Facebook earlier in the year. She's leading as COO. So they're really bringing in this group of social media team members and experts saying that, if we're going to be a profitable business, it's not that retailers should be scared of us becoming our own retailer. It's actually that retailers should be scared of us becoming this new kind of retailer that's more of a network of data and brand advertising than it is like actually bringing the groceries or whatever to the door of the consumer.
I am curious what's ultimately the play. I mean, you'd mentioned, do they become some kind of a community, or are they just this, kind of this aggregator of advertising? Like what is their play? Like what it seems to me is that most grocers want to own their own data, right? And they don't want a third party disintermediating that, which means that white label grocery ends up being a solution. And that is why, Instacart bought this company, Unada, which is a grocery e-commerce platform, which would be that solution anyway. But then it sort of leaves, kind of Instacart. Where does that leave Instacart, right? I mean, they're like, kind of a grocery version of Shopify, but then they have the worst part of the e-com, kind of cycle, kind of the ecosystem, which is the fulfillment piece, right?
Right.
Which nobody really should want.
Right. Yeah. And how you're bringing up so many good points. Like there's still a lot of modeling that I think Instacart has to define. And are these Facebook veterans the right people that are going to be able to build that whole comprehensive business model outside of that?
Totally on point. I mean, Facebook is like the least of the four big technology companies that has any strength in commerce, right? So to take their executives and put them in charge of a commerce business, either they, they really, really are hoping that Instacart becomes something different, or they just got who they could get. It totally is a head scratcher there.
I mean, to be a fly on the wall right now at Instacart in that boardroom and just trying to figure out where they're going to go next or what the next moves are. I would love to be there, and I'll be watching, as many of us will in the retail industry, to see where this goes next. Well, let's move on to headline number 2. So Sam's Club announced Tuesday that they are expanding their Scan and Go app to include scan and ship functionality, allowing members to purchase and ship products directly to their homes. It's being tested in 3 stores, a club in Marietta, California, one in McKinney, Texas, and also at their Sam's Club Now store in Dallas. So for Sam's Club Plus members, shipping to the home is free. Eligible products include bulky items like mattresses and TVs, but they're also allowing members to use this for items that might be out of stock, or if they want alternate colors and sizes that aren't available in the club that day. So members just scan and pay for all the items that they're taking home with them that day and that they're having shipped all in one transaction. And that they're in and they're done. Sam's Club will roll this out to more stores and include more SKUs in the coming months. Now, Sucharita, this is also where A&M Consumer and Retail Group, they put us on the spot each week. They throw in a question where we have to go in a little bit deeper dive in analysis, and they want us to answer this question as it relates to the Sam's Club story. Sam's Club is doubling down now on their position to offer convenience at a great price, and presumably is assuming here that the increased basket size will outweigh the cost of the services of delivering things directly to home, like we were just talking about in that Instacart story. What do you think then this means for the future of the Sam's Club store footprint and the role of the physical Sam's Club store?
What does it mean for the stores? I think that, kind of a greater portion of the selling floor probably ends up being these demo experiences. I mean, as it is probably like 20% of their stores, like stores in stores anyway, it's everything from like eyeglasses to pizza,
right?
Verizon, right? So why not?
I've never really thought about that as like stores and stores, but you're so right. Like there is like a butcher, and then there's like prescription drugs and ice cream, soft serve, all in one magical spot. Sucharita, are you a like Costco or warehouse club, Sam's Club shopper? Like,
Oh
is
yeah.
that your idea of fun? Okay, yes, you enjoy that. See, I am the opposite. So for me, I tried to go to Costco. My son had a baseball game and I had to drop him off earlier, and I was doing some store visits, and I was like, I'll go into Costco. Like, it's a
Wait, so
Monday
you were
night.
not sucked in as like the
Oh
new
no.
mom,
I
with the
cannot
diapers?
stand it. I cannot stand it. Like, I just get into the parking lot and my anxiety goes to like an 11. I can't do it. I love Instacart doing delivery. Like, I love the concept and the products that Sam's Club and Costco have. Like, it's great. But that's what like this really tapped into for me. Like, people love this shopping experience. So I think that what this has done is this has removed the whole like, I need a giant car to like bring all my bulk items home. I need like there's just it's too big of there's too much of things. Like, I'm not going to have a place to store it. I think that this is really opening up Sam's Club to a new consumer, because I think you can put this footprint if they wanted to. Again, yes, there's cost implications, but I think they could go smaller format. If I can take like the subway or mass transit now to a Sam's Club, I still get to have that convenient experience. I still get access to discounted products. I get a cheaper mattress or TV or whatever it happens to be that day, but I don't have to worry about the logistics. I mean, that eliminates Sam's Club or these warehouse clubs from a lot of people who live in urban or more dense settings. That eliminates them as a retailer for them altogether. And so I think that now that you're giving me, like you said, this, showroom experience, I still like a lot of people enjoy that shopping experience. Everybody loves getting a deal. Like, it doesn't matter if you're, a budget conscious family, or you're a person in the ritzy suburbs who's still going to Costco or Sam's Club to buy your leaf bags. Like,
Oh yeah.
people love the deal, they love the samples. So I think that this is actually much bigger than just being able to ship from store. It's having like Sam's Club has been really smart. They've always been forward thinking as far as their tech in store is concerned, but now you're giving people a frictionless experience in a warehouse club, and another reason to be a Sam's Club member. So I am so in on this. I think the only thing for me, and I asked on the call that they did with the news teams earlier this week when they made the announcement, they are not shipping from store in all cases here. So to your point, Sucharita, I think you have to wait potentially for that mattress. This isn't going to be like I order it today and we're shipping it to my house in 2 hours. This is definitely going to be I came to look at the mattress and I'm going to get it in, 5 to 7 business days or whatever. So
Interesting.
yeah. So I think, we'll see, but I love that you're an all in warehouse club member. Do you have any favorite items or like, what do you have to get when you go to this spot?
Oh gosh, I mean, our big driver is always like paper towels, right? Paper towels and like Kleenex, right? And then everything else is like, we'll get the granola bars and the, kind of the leggings and, like a book, when we're there too. So
Oh my gosh.
everything.
That's
The other thing, so the one thing I have to say about Sam's Club that I don't know how much of the successes they actually port over to Walmart, but that seems to me like the big win is that if this works at Sam's Club, it seems like it would be easy enough to take over to Walmart, even for like seasonal products or whatever the case.
totally.
They have such a rich store footprint, when you look at the full chain. The other thing is, as you were talking, what this really is like taking the best parts of IKEA, and kind of bringing it into your, kind of into your way of doing business. I mean, but I think that what we've even learned about IKEA is that it's the same car problem, right? I mean, people, that's why they bought TaskRabbit. That's why they have like in every store this delivery and installation business that you can pay extra for. And they're removing that point of friction. And
Right.
absolutely right. I mean, this doesn't need to even be an urban strategy. I mean, this is something that applies to the suburbs,
Totally.
college students, just about anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And they are so fast. Just out their prototyping to delivery to customer is like nothing I've ever seen. We did an interview with their CTO, Vinod Bidarkopa, that's on our OmniTalk site right now, but they are just slick. I mean, they're really I think an admirable retailer, one of the best in class when we start to talk about omni-channel retail right now. Well, we
Agreed.
can't, we have to talk about one of the other biggest retailers in the world, Apple. They partnered with Goldman Sachs this week, and they are creating something they're calling Apple Pay Later. The new service called Apple Pay Later will allow consumers to pay for any Apple Pay purchase in installments over time. This just blows me away. When a user makes a purchase via Apple Pay on their Apple device, they'll have the option to pay for it either across 4 interest-free payments made every 2 weeks, similar to the other buy now, pay later providers, or across several months with interest, similar to a credit card. And the interest rates have not yet been released for that option, but those are expected to be coming out here as they roll this out in the next couple of months. And you can register for this service. All you need is an ID with the iPhone wallet app. It does not require running a credit check. Sucharita, I read this and I was like, this is a game changer. This is when buy now pay later goes mainstream as far as I'm concerned. I am concerned about the impact that this may have on our society and what people are going to start doing with, Apple Pay being accepted at 85% of retailers and becoming this, pretty ubiquitous form of payment for a lot of people. But what are your thoughts about this?
So it's going to work, I assume, for online and offline transactions.
Correct.
And when you fire up that you want to pay with Apple Pay, there should be some sort of deferred billing messaging at that point of the transaction. Is that the way it works?
Really good question. From what I understand, yes, it will work similarly to how, you go to the checkout right now and maybe you'd see a firm at the checkout and you can elect to do that in the installment payments or just pay as, I want Apple Pay for the full transaction, or I want, 4 installments through Apple Pay later, or I want, to do this via credit card.
This deferred billing space is like hotter than ever. I've been covering it for a number of years and did a ton of work with Bill Me Later, which was one of the first deferred billing e-commerce years and years ago, and kind of saw it through its cycle of being acquired by PayPal. And we've done so many studies with their merchants and consumers. So here's the deal. So deferred billing, you're absolutely right, is kind of a home run. Like everybody should have it. There's no excuse to not. It's such a big driver of conversion. The other piece is to have it at the point of transaction is also super, super key. And if you can embed it into the retailer's transaction funnel, whether it's online or offline, like for instance, if a merchant were to say to you, if it's a cashier, would you like to have, kind of interest free for 2 months or whatever, that would make a big difference. But if the consumer has to pull out the Apple Pay, which not very many consumers do, according to our data, and that's the point at which they see it, I think that it may not be the big game changer that Apple may hope. So that's my assessment.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It is still, while so many retailers do accept it, I think it's still the adoption is still needs to increase for Apple to get the return on this that they're probably thinking. I do think though that, making this one seamless transaction, it's not another app. It's something that many, many people have already on their phone. It's just going to be getting them to go ahead and use it. But if there's a chance to do it, I think this could be a great run for Apple's portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious, kind of which merchants, they may have more success with, or types of merchants. I mean, one of the things that I think has been really interesting in watching this deferred billing space is that the earlier versions were really, really successful in sectors like travel, right? Like, you could buy a $500 plane ticket and, pay for it interest free over 12 months or whatever. And what Afterpay, even Klarna, and definitely Affirm have done is I feel that they have lowered the price points. They've made it like, you can use these deferred billing solutions to buy a skirt or whatever the case may be, and they've brought in a lot of younger consumers into this fold as well, which also begs the question that you had alluded to earlier, which is what does this do to society? And is this just adding to the debt that millennials already have? Which is a very fair question.
Let's move on to headline number 4. So 7-Eleven has expanded mobile checkout to more than 3,000 stores in 31 states and Washington, D.C. Customers can scan items in the store using their 7-Eleven mobile app. They pay in the app, and then they just scan a QR code at the confirmation station on their way out, and they're done. 7-Eleven expects that they will expand mobile checkout to all stores by 2022. Sucharita, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like waiting in line at convenience stores? I think this is like, there is no reason at all we should ever be waiting in lines at these places anymore. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I, kind of the whole mobile checkout boom, I love it. No problems with it. Walmart put it in with Walmart Plus. They actually had it long before in different pilots. Obviously the Sam's Club, kind of experience that they're talking about. Starbucks. My concern with 7-Eleven, and this sort of is like, it dovetails with the previous Apple story too, which is that they are riding Apple Pay and Google Pay and, kind of trying to use these other digital wallet solutions. And if I were in their shoes, if I was the executive in charge of this, I think they need to do what Starbucks does, which is that you need to have, kind of a closed loop card where it is your kind of basically your gift card that is the way that consumers pay. And they,
Right.
You can, kind of they go back below a certain threshold, it gets auto reloaded, because that's the way you get stickiness. And that's the way that you keep the data. I am a huge skeptic, and I try to discourage any merchant from getting more embedded with any of the 4 large tech companies if they can avoid it. There's ultimately no good that is going to come to you in the long term from doing this. And the terms and conditions of the arrangements with them can change at any point, and you're going to be left with that as a problem if you don't anticipate it now. And that even raises questions about, kind of how healthy is it to even have, kind of an app strategy that you're dependent on too, which raises other questions of what they should be doing from a lobbying and a regulation and a rules standpoint, which retailers totally have their heads in the sand about. But kind of that gets, that's a whole other conversation. But even getting back to this now, if 7-Eleven were to force you to, pay with a 7-Eleven gift card, I would say thumbs up. This is awesome. This is just like Starbucks, but they're not. And therefore, I just think, it helps probably reduce their friction, but they're, kind of basically opening the key, giving the keys to their kingdom potentially to, companies that can be threats to them.
Wow, that is like an angle that you're right. I don't think a lot of people are thinking about for sure. It's for us, it was, in my mind, it's 100% about just how do you make it more convenient for the shopper. Right. And I think those are a lot of really important points for retailers to consider. They are allowing customers to come in and put like hard cash onto a card so that they are able to use this feature. But I think that you're right. Like there could be further benefits of, having people preload like the Starbucks card in order to spend this. And it makes, more sense from a loyalty and adoption standpoint too. And that's something that I think, yes, 7-Eleven, we know that we have some people listening from there on this podcast. So a really, really good point by Sucharita there. All right, well, let's get to headline number 5. We'll close it up with this one. Nordstrom has acquired a minority interest in 4 apparel brands owned by UK fast fashion group Asos. Nordstrom and Asos will share ownership of Topshop, Topman, Miss Selfridge, and hit brands that typically target younger shoppers in their 20s. I kind of don't agree with that. I've definitely got some Topshop items, so maybe I need to
You look
update.
so young, Anne. I mean, you
Oh,
could pass for
Sucharita.
like 25.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I tell myself. And everybody's like, she's wearing a Topshop and she's almost 40. Nordstrom will also become the only brick and mortar presence for these brands worldwide. And shoppers will be able to pick up and return all ASOS items in the Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack stores. Sucharita, I know you posted on this one. What are your thoughts on this partnership?
Nordstrom is a great brand. It is, it has set the standards for so much of experiential retail, what's quality retail. But at the same time, for I think a number of factors that are macroeconomic, not related necessarily to Nordstrom, it's been a company that in recent years has struggled, and the pandemic certainly didn't help. Their numbers have not even, I think, paced retail, or kind of certainly not a number of their competitors. And I think that Asos is a younger, digitally native brand. Its growth rates have been in the double digits, healthy double digits, at least for fashion. And that's really what we're seeing here, is that you have a brand which is, some would argue, is mature, acquiring, a significant stake in a brand that still has headroom and, kind of growth ahead of it. I think it's great. It's like PetSmart and Chewy, I mean, it was, kind of, if that's where the energy is and that's where the shopper is going, go there. It's really, really smart. I also think one thing that hasn't been called out a ton is that Asos is UK primarily, kind of overseas.
Right.
They've been trying to get a foothold in the United States, but I think the vast majority of their revenue still comes from non-North American markets, whereas Nordstrom is entirely North American. It's US and Canada. So I think that this gives Nordstrom a way to get international data, really, that they didn't get before, and to have a foothold in an international market.
That's
a number of international markets that they didn't have before, without the risk of launching physical stores. So in many, and and internationalization is one of the best ways to grow if you can, over time. When you look at how have retailers grown, it is, new brands, new product categories, new markets. And, and it's hard to do any one of those, but if you can acquire your way to that, more power to you.
It's really helping Nordstrom like build this bigger empire and get beyond the North America and really start to think about the locations that they can try. The UK being a natural one with this partnership, I think, and some of the other partnerships that they have. I was a little hesitant to include this story in the Fast Five this week because we've been talking about Nordstrom quite a bit. They just, did the partnership with Indochino, rolling that out to more stores. And I think that it's really smart because Nordstrom needs to get that younger shopper in there. They've got a solid base right now of, the older millennials, Gen Xers, and boomers. But I think that, this ASOS partnership, Topshop has been in there for a while and has performed really well for them. But I think that having this ASOS partnership as a way to bring in that next consumer, to just get them in the doors, I think that's all that Nordstrom has to do, is get them in the doors. And then they're one of the few department stores, in my opinion, that can still actually provide a great all around department store experience. And they just need to keep bringing that client in to get them accustomed to, I'm returning my ASOS package here, but maybe I see something in the juniors department that I like, or picking up another item. And then maybe I get into fragrance or cosmetics. And then maybe I, bring my partner in and they get something in, or I'm coming in for a wedding now to do my Indochino suit fitting. Like, I think that they just need to get that hook. And this is a great hook for them. Well, Sucharita, that wraps us up. It's time for our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
First question. Kraft this week announced new mac and cheese flavored ice cream. Sucharita, please tell me that is not your favorite ice cream flavor. What is your go-to ice cream flavor?
You can't even find the Kraft mac and cheese ice cream. I mean, it's like sold out. So my favorite, so I am Indian, so I have to say mango kulfi. Encourage everybody in the world to try it if you haven't.
Oh, I will try that. Where do I find it? Because it sounds delightful.
Well, you have to go, it's not mainstream yet. It's more in like Indian grocery stores, but kind of, they have popsicles, they'll have ice cream and, pint jar jugs and, cartons. It's good.
That sounds like an upgrade from my go-to cookies and cream flavor. So I will be looking for that immediately after this podcast. Okay, next question. YouTube star and 9-year-old Ryan Kaji of Ryan's Toy Review released a line of sneakers with Skechers this week that they will market to Ryan's 30 million YouTube subscribers, making the 9-year-old even more than his current estimated worth of $35 million. If you got to partner, Sucharita, on your own line of shoes, which brand would you choose to partner with?
Oh my gosh, Anne. I mean, this is kind of embarrassing because I wouldn't be of any help to any brand. It would be like, kind of the exposure would be like maybe my 10 Twitter followers. So that I don't know that would be that great. I would love to work with Nike. I love Nike. I love everything about them as a brand and as business. So I'd have to say Nike, but I'm also fascinated by, kind of these diffusion lines of, these like other performance brands. So I would actually love to do something with Porsche. I think Porsche should have a shoe.
Ooh. Oh, I like it. What kind of shoe are we talking here? Like, is this like a dress shoe, like a sneaker?
I think it would have to be, I think it would have to be streetwear. Don't you think? I think,
yeah.
I see it as streetwear. I see it as performance streetwear. Kind of like that Nike shoe that helps you run faster. Like, that's the kind of innovation that I'm envisioning.
Okay. I love this. I think we should just like start napkin sketching immediately. We can send it to Porsche. Okay. Next question. UK-based meal kit company Gusto partnered with Spotify this week to suggest the best recipe for your mood based on the music you've been listening to. If they were to ask what playlist you listened to last night to determine a dinner recipe for you, what playlist would that be, Sucharita?
Oh my gosh, and this is like an embarrassing confession. I am not really a music person. So, I mean, like when I listen, it's like, I torture my kids with NPR and, kind of make them kind of listen to that. I'll listen to like, kind of Bloomberg radio, Wharton radio. It's like the nerdiest, kind of thing. But yes, that's what I listen. That's my playlist,
The next question, the famed Disco Kroger in Atlanta, Georgia is closing. The grocery store shared a parking lot with the renowned Limelight Disco Club, had their own disco ball in the store, and even a disco deli that was a well-loved locale for late night noshing. What, Sucharita, is your go-to guilty pleasure snack at the grocery store?
So if you're going to go to the grocery store for mango kulfi, the Indian grocery store. I also recommend going to the snack aisle because Indian people have some of the best spicy snacks. Chekalu. Get Chekalu. They are awesome.
What is Chekalu?
Oh, so they're like little fried rice crisps. It's like Indian chips is the way that Indian people will often describe them. They too are delicious.
That sounds amazing. Better than Twizzlers, my go-to late night snack. One more question for you. Levi Strauss saw a 156% revenue lift in this last quarter, which they attribute to people going out shopping for new clothes post-pandemic, but also because they claim they were ahead of the trend, offering the popular loose fit denim styles before anyone else. Sucharita, what clothing trend do you most wish would come back in style?
Bell bottoms, definitely bell bottoms. I think that they can be very, very flattering when worn in a, without too wide of a bottom, but kind of like a nice flare. Yes, that's.
I think that would be perfect for Disco Kroger. You could wear your bell bottoms into Disco Kroger.
But it's not there anymore, Anne. So we have to maybe bring back a Disco Kroger.
You'll have to make the Kroger in North Carolina a Disco Kroger. Just put your bell bottoms on, walk in, and name it. This is new. This is Sucharita's Disco Kroger.
Well, with the Porsche performance shoes.
With the Porsche performance shoes, you gotta have a little heel on those so that they show up under the bell bottom.
Well, the heels now they're having heels on their, on the streetwear shoes now, right?
Yes. We again napkin sketch immediately following this this podcast. Sucharita, thank you so much for being with us today. If people want to follow your work at Forrester, they want to follow you on Twitter, what's the best place for them to do that?
So Twitter is, you can just probably Google me to find me on Twitter, just Sucharita Kadali, or it's actually my maiden name is the Twitter handle, which is Esmol Peru. And also LinkedIn. I post a lot on LinkedIn too. So either of those, and hope to see everybody at one of those places.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That wraps us up this week. Happy birthday to one of the 90210 hunks who would actually have preferred to be known as a rapper if you watch the documentary on Punky Brewster's life instead of an actor. That is Brian Austin Green. And another actress who also would prefer to be known as a singer, Brigitte Nielsen. Happy birthday to both of them today. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news, and our twice weekly e-newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us and just for you, and all within the preview pane of your inbox. You can sign up today at omnitalk.blog. Thanks as always for listening in, and please remember to like or leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. And of course, be careful out there. The OmniTalk Fast 5 is brought to you with the help and support of the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the expertise, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Takeoff. Takeoff is transforming grocery by empowering grocers to thrive online. The key is micro-fulfillment, small robotic fulfillment centers that can be leveraged at a hyper-local scale. Takeoff also offers a robust software suite so grocers can seamlessly integrate the robotic solution into their existing businesses. To learn more, visit takeoff.com.